much, Cornell. And I would like to greet everyone in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. And I believe that He is using me, God is using me to do this mission. And as I indicated, my children and women are my passion. Because I'm a woman and I've got my own children and I love every child that I see. So I'm going to start this presentation with a poem, which was my grade 3, that's standard 1 poem. So it goes thus. It's in Afrikaans, so I hope, but I've interpreted it and changed some of the parts in English. The poem, maybe some people will know it, is called Die Stilpad. Stil en stadig stap jy daar, met sy huisie op sy rug. Kom daar tekens van gevaar, daar ren jy gou vlug. Uitsaman, jou dop is mooi. Hoe het jy dat rug gekry, maar jou nek is oorgeplooi? Sê vir my, hoe oud is jy? So in English, it's talking about a tortoise that quiet and slowly he paces, with his house on his back. There comes a sign of danger, and quickly therein he goes and hides. Wow, your shell is beautiful. How did you get it right? But your neck is wrinkled. Tell me, how old are you? You know, this poem for me reminds me of how the bullies are treated in different places. You'll find that a child has got some kind of a disability and the parents, a child got some kind of a disability and the peer group, they mock her or him on what that child has got. Sometimes it's a disability that maybe they are walking slowly. It's only that they are different from them. Just like the stilpad. The stilpad can be different from other animals, but you'll find that these animals people are teasing it that you are as slow as a tortoise. Your neck is like a tortoise. So that can be part of bullying. So I'm going to share with you what children learn or how children learn from bullying. According to Albert Bandura, who is a social learning theorist, he talks about children learning from observation and from modeling. So he says it is important that parents model good behavior for children because children learn what they see. They develop different responses by observing us as parents and by observing people that are around them. So bullying happens in different stages, and I'm going to phases in schools. We have a foundation phase, we have an intermediate phase, and we also have a high school phase. So with the foundation phase, you'll find that it's children that are still very small. We're talking about our grade 1 to grade 4. And then we talk about the intermediate phase where we're talking about children from grade 5 to grade 7. And then later on, these children go to high school. Now, when they talk about bullying, it is indicated in research that it's likely to escalate when children are in the intermediate phase. which means that it's likely to escalate when children are in grade 4 to grade 7. So that's when they start to be more bullied. And why is this happening? It is because of their stage of development. When we're talking about the stage of development, we're talking about the psychosocial stage where children psychologically are growing and also socially they are beginning to be accepted by the community in a different way. So children who are in the intermediate phase and those who are starting to be bullies, you'll find that they are on the stage that is called industry versus inferiority. So these children want to show others that they can show off, they can bully. They want to attract other children to follow them. And therefore, this for them makes them feel like they are superior to other children. So it is important that parents are looking and watching how their children react, especially at home. But bullying doesn't only start here in primary schooling. In primary school, bullying also starts when children are very small in crèche. I think most of the parents you are familiar with, no, stop it, this is mine. We have watched children in crèches, in care, where they are being taken care of. A 2-year-old fighting about a toy or taking or grabbing a toy from another child. So that's where then the bullying will start. And as a parent, it is important that you don't laugh about it. Don't think that this child is funny, this is a joke, and this is what boys are made of. So boys and girls, when we talk about bullying, again, we're talking about different genders. Bullying for boys and bullying for girls is often different. What happens is that with boys, you'll find them that they shove, they hit, they kick when they bully other boys. But with girls, they do it differently, especially when we now go to primary school and high school. Girls are likely to be mean to other girls. They are likely to start gossiping. They are likely to spread a rumor, and most of the time it would be a rumor that is not true about other children. And they also isolate a friend. When they start bullying that person, they don't want her to come and closer to them, to be part of their group, and they isolate and they talk down on that particular child. So as parents, it is important to check your child, whether in this group, is she a leader? Is she a follower? And if she is a leader, what kind of a leader is she? Is she a leader that bullies other children, that forces them to lead by good example? So those are some of the things that are very important when we come to bullying.
Nsiki, I think you probably accidentally muted yourself because we are not connected to you any longer. Can you hear me? You are back now.
Can you hear me?
You're back now, yes. We lost you for a bit. Yes, you may go
Is
ahead.
that fine?
You may go ahead.
Okay, sorry, we are also struggling. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Cordelia. So there are different types of bullying. There can be a direct physical bullying whereby, a child is being hit by others. Now, what do you do when a child is bullied? What do you tell your child to do? It is important that if it's a physical bullying, you tell your child to walk away from the situation, walk away from the bully, and report the bully report it to a Sunday school teacher, or even to adults. Then don't be a bystander. Some parents, they shouldn't encourage a bully by being a bystander and watching and encouraging that bully to bully other children. And a bully shouldn't show, a victim shouldn't show a bully that I'm so scared of you, I'm feeling sad, because then that's when a bully starts to think that this is what I'm going to do. Because he's feeling sad or she's feeling sad, because she's crying, then I'm going to do it because it satisfies, the wolf in me, that black wolf that wants to fight. And then the person who is bullied, the victim, you need to calm down and show that you are confident. Encourage your children to support the victim, not to laugh at the victim, not to use, because it also extends to cyberbullying, whereby they then use phones to take photos of the child that is being bullied and to put it on social media, encouraging the bully that he's now a celebrity or she's now a celebrity, she can do that. With a perpetrator, if your child is a perpetrator and he's the one who has been bullying other children, encourage that child to do an introspection. When I mean say an introspection, I mean, what is it that makes me to bully other children? What is it that I have been exposed to that makes me to bully other children? So introspection is very important. Children should learn to be empathic. And in Sunday schools, at home, in schools as well, teach children empathy, putting themselves in another child's shoes. How is it if this was going to happen to me? How is it if, discourage racism in schools, discourage racism amongst children, as well as laughing at those who are inferior or who are coming from poor backgrounds. That is very important, to encourage your children not to do that. With a bully as well, inform a bully to think before they speak. Because some bullies, they're not empathic. They can say anything that comes to their mind. So teaching them how to think, count to 20 before you start talking, so that you can be able to think about what you are going to say. Is this correct? Is this the right thing to say to other children? Now, when it comes to bullying as well, what happens is children have developed their own language that they understand themselves, that when they bully other children, they use that particular language. Like, for example, you'll find that someone is sending a message to a friend about someone else, and instead of laughing or laughing loudly, they will put LOL, That LOL on its own, it's a small thing, but it encourages the perpetrator to feel that, oh, there's a bystander laughing, she's excited about what is happening. So let's encourage children not to use the languages that indicates that they are supporting the victims. Some of the things that they write on their phones, you'll find that they write TPS, Maybe Macy is talking about Lindy Way, and Ntsiki, as an example, will say, oh, that's pretty stupid. But instead of writing the whole name, then they will write TPS, So if you're a parent, you won't even understand what is it that they are trying to talk about here, but your child might be one of the bystanders because of the comments that she's writing on the WhatsApp when she responds, or even on Facebook. So it is important that as parents, we know what our children are doing, what our children are doing to other kids. Now, when it comes to bullying as well, we need to look at what is happening in our own families. Bullying also starts in our own families. What is it that our children are exposed to? Our children are often exposed to violence in our families, whereby parents are fighting. Sometimes it's a family home. It's not mom and dad who are fighting, but it's the two aunts and the uncle, or the grandmother and the mother. So that is an exposure. You're exposing children to violence, and not only violence in fighting, but the insults, swearing words that we use as parents, swearing at our children, that can be internalized by our kids, and they'll go and use that at school. The use of physical punishment, when parents are not happy about their children and their children's behavior, then they hit them. So kids think that if you want to be above another person, the only thing that you can do is to hit. So parents should stop using corporal punishment or hitting their children as well. What the children watch on media, the wrestling that young children are exposed to, the movies that involve violence, children learn this, and they think that it is the right way of living. And they use that when they find their victims in school, and they start behaving in the same way. Parents as well with the girls in church meetings, you'll find that as a parent, I will be gossiping about another fellow member, and children are listening and they think it's important. It's okay to do that. Sorry. Children are listening to you when you talk bad about other people. And when they do it in schools, they think that, no, that is normal. This is the way that we do things. So what I always encourage parents is, don't say to your child, do as I say. Encourage your child to do as you do. And if it's do as you do, then it should be a good way of, I'm doing the right thing. So my child is learning good behavior from me, so then he will do it right. Some of the things that children do in school, and I don't know, maybe those who grew up during my high school years, we used to put a paper at the back of another child. I remember in my school, they would write it in Afrikaans, that is my verjaarsdag, skop me, you know. And then you'll find the whole class kicking you. You know, it means it is my birthday, so kick me. So you'll find the whole class, people are kicking you. That is also bullying, because it's not funny. It's not okay to kick other children. It's not okay to hit other children, but they will think that this is just a small thing. It's not serious, and we are just teasing. So people will ask, what's the difference between teasing and bullying? Teasing can be to build a character depending on how it is. But if it escalates and it doesn't stop, then that becomes bullying, because children can get to a point whereby, especially a victim, whereby he feels that I cannot stand this. I'm tired of being teased. So we need to introduce our children to the world of reality, that in the world of reality, people will be teasing you. But teasing is up to this stage. It shouldn't go beyond, go through teasing you by race, teasing you by, how you look, the color of your skin, your ears are big, your nose is small. Such things are not allowed to be part of the teasing when you play as young children. So teachers, Sunday school teachers, always be alert of what kids are talking about, what kids are teasing each other about. What is it that you as an adult, you are modeling? This is whether it will build a child or it will break your children. Now, why is bullying not good? Bullying, it's like a traumatic experience, because a child who is bullied, a victim of bullying, has a fear that here I'm going to be severely injured. And others, they fear that I might be killed here. Others, it's a fear that one thing that's similar to this happened at my house and my dad was injured or my mom was injured. So it's going to happen to me. So the symptoms of bullying are similar to the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, which are almost similar to the symptoms of depression. One, a child will avoid a place where he's bullied. So you'll find a child being scared of going to school, avoiding going to school or visiting even the granny, because when he's at granny's house, the cousins are bullying him. So we'll see it by avoidance. It's one of the symptoms. The child becomes hypervigilant, whereby whoever says anything to him, he becomes jumpy. He's scared. He's vigilant. He doesn't want to be with other children. He's clinging on the parents. So you need to find out what is it that has traumatized this child. Child might be neurotic now, wetting bed. This child was dry. He was not wetting his bed or his pants anymore, but now the child has started to wet his bed or his pants. The child sometimes can soil himself. No of the cases in the taxi from school to home or from home to school, this child was bullied. One of the police would ask him to sit in the passage where there's no chair and to sit like he's sitting on the chair until they get home. People might think that it's teasing, but when the child got home, all the time he had started soiling himself, and mom was wondering why, because he's in grade 4, he never soiled himself, and something is happening. You take your child to different specialists, and the doctors will say, no, there's nothing wrong with this child. Everything is still okay. Just check if your child is not being bullied. Poor sleeping habits. A child will struggle to sleep, or they'll sleep a lot as though, like a person who's taken dacha, they like to sleep most of the time. So you need to check, is it this child taking substances, or is there something happening to her or to him? Now, with the high school children, when they are experiencing that, some of the things that they do is to cut themselves, especially on the wrist. So when they've started cutting themselves on the wrist, they'll put on long sleeves. That should be a sign. When your child is older, it's hot outside, they are always putting on this black jersey, long sleeves, and they want to put on their kapi, the hood. Find out what is happening. Pull hats on this particular child, because most of the time you'll find that they are hiding the cuts. Some cut themselves now on the wrist. Some cut themselves on their legs. So it is important, and they'll always put on long pants. So check what is happening if your child is doing that. The grades in school, they are dropping. The child's performance is deteriorating. As a parent, go to school, check what is happening, what is making this child's performance to deteriorate. And some children, they'll start eating a lot or eating less. So anything that is out of the normal should be questioned as a parent. Why is this child like this? They lock themselves in the rooms. They don't want to come outside. So you might think that it's depression, but how does post-traumatic stress differ from depression? Is because with post-traumatic stress disorder, there's a trigger. There's something that caused the trauma, that caused that the symptoms that you are seeing. Whereas with depression, possibly inherited from somewhere. So your child, you might think that this child is depressed because of the symptoms that you are seeing. And you might associate it with your granny or yourself that you are depressed, but the trigger would be in school. So as parents, it is important that you become aware of what is happening in your child's life. Check their phones. What messages days is that parents will start interfering in their space and they need their space. But remember, as a parent, you are here to protect your child and to raise your child in the right way. So if you don't know anything about your children or about your child, you'll be told by your neighbor what your child is going through. And when you find out that your child is a bully or your child is a victim of bullying, as a parent, be calm when you inquire about it. Because if you are harsh, your child will not disclose everything. They'll be scared to tell you. When you take children for therapy, don't force them, negotiate with them. Because even with me, when they come for therapy, I always ask them, did you agree to come here? Were you informed why you have to come here? So treat your child like an adult, especially when there's something a decision that has to be taken, a decision that is important and that involves the children's life. Because at the end, we know of many cases, and recently the case in Limpopo, where a child hanged himself because he was bullied at school. And he left a note to say, I better die rather than be bullied. So as parents, let's be aware of what our children are going through and let's support them. Thank you very much. I don't know if there are any questions from the floor. Somebody has asked me to share the recording with, and I also have slides. Unfortunately, because of the connection, I became quite nervous and I was unable now to press the buttons. But I've got slides that I will share with people. I don't know, Cordell, how you will send them to different people. I hope everyone who's here who needs the slides will talk to Cordell and she can then send them via email. So it's one of the questions, and
evening,
okay.
It says Stalia. There's a hand by Edith.
Hi.
I will just monitor them for you. So members, maybe we should just start by thanking Ntseki for the presentation. Very informative, and we've received some help in understanding, particularly as parents, understanding the bullying problem a lot better. So thank you so much. So members, it is open now. If you have questions, you may raise your hand, unmute yourself, and pose your question. You may also use the chat if you prefer to type your question. So I'm going to give over to Edith, followed by Rudo. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ntseki. There was a comment that you made around bullying, post-traumatic stress being different to depression. However, I think the signal wasn't so good. I couldn't hear properly in terms of the difference between those symptoms are similar. You said that the trigger for post-traumatic stress was, you said something about post-traumatic stress and depression. Can you just reiterate the difference between the two? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. With post-traumatic stress disorder, the name in itself says it's something that happens after the trauma. So it happens, post means after. So it happens after a traumatic situation. So it's a reaction that people have when there was a traumatic situation. And when I'm talking about a traumatic situation, I'm talking about a situation where you thought you were going to be severely injured or you were going to die. So post-traumatic stress disorder are the symptoms that come after a trauma. And different from depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, there's a trigger, number one. Number two, you'll find that there's avoidance as one of the symptoms. So avoidance will mean a person will avoid a situation where trauma happened, a place where trauma happened. And I made an example that your child will try to avoid going to school. They don't want to go to school because it was traumatic. They don't want to go with the taxi or the bus that they go with to school because that's where the trauma has happened. Then a child becomes hypervigilant. They are jumpy, and they also become clingy on a parent. When you get to school, they're holding on your skirt or your pants. They don't want you to go because there's a trauma that is happening here. So as a parent, do not discard that. Try to find out what is happening. Some of the symptoms then of post-traumatic stress disorder are similar to the symptoms of depression, where it's poor sleeping habits, poor eating habits, and poor would mean a lot of sleeping or less sleeping. Poor eating habits, it will be a lot of eating or poor eating. With children, they become anoretic, where they wet their pants, or they become, they soil their pants. So those are the symptoms that can happen to a child when the child has been traumatized. I don't know if you heard me this time.
Yes, we heard you quite clearly. Thank you so much. We've got 3 hands lined up, and I'm wondering whether we should give the members, will you be able to manage it in that way, Ntseki, if we give them all 3 an opportunity to pose the question and you can respond once to all of them? Is that possible?
That is possible.
Thank you so much. So we have Rudo, followed by Maye, and then we have Bianca. Please go ahead, unmute yourself, and pose the question in that order.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for the information. It's been very, very informative. I joined a bit late, and I don't know if it was mentioned. In as much as we want to identify children who are bullied, is there any way to identify if your child could be the bully, if your child is the problem? Is there anything we should look out for that would be useful and helpful?
Okay.
Thanks for your question, Rudo, followed by the next question.
Is it not? Bianca?
My
Go ahead.
hello. Thank you so much for the information. My question is around how do you help a child, for example, if you have family that visit very often and you see there are things that they do to your child, but the child, if you ask them if they're okay with what is happening, they say it's fine. Is it okay, or is it fair for me as the mother to find a way? How do you go about that? If you see there's a relative that comes often, but they treat your child in a way that is unbecoming, how do you handle that? Thank you.
Okay.
All right, and then the next question by Bianca. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to know, you've made a lot of connection between somebody that's being bullied and their trauma response, usually involving a lot of avoidance. I do have a suspicion that my own child is being bullied in a way or something similar. However, there is a desperate need to try and still stay with these so-called friends all the time. He seems to be questioned or overly teased about his stature, about how he's how skinny he is, but to a point where he's getting injured quite a lot when he plays with them. They'd say things like, oh, well, if you were bigger and you went to the gym, then you wouldn't have a problem. And I think he's actually even overeating too much to try and get bigger. However, he's desperately wanting to stay with these friends. Do you classify that as bullying, or how do you handle that kind of situation? Thank you.
All right, thanks for the questions, ladies. And so I see.
Thank you very much.
We'll allow Ntsiki to respond to the first three questions. Thank you so much, Ntsiki. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies. Let me start with the last question. It is important that we build our children's self-esteem, because low to be bullied. And as parents, we need to teach our children the appropriate behavior and the inappropriate behavior, so that they can know that what is happening to me, it's not appropriate, it's inappropriate. The way I'm touched, the way people talk to me, it's not appropriate. And I want to relate this to the cases that I sometimes see of parents. Parents can be in a marriage and either mom is bullied by dad or dad is being bullied by mom. And when I say bullied, the GBV stuff. Now, if mom is always saying, it's okay, no, don't worry, it's your dad. Then the child outside will do the same. When friends are bullying them, it will be, no, it's okay, it's my friend. Because children learn from your behavior as parents. So with the last question is, teach your child to stand up for himself or for herself. Build the child's self-esteem, that this is who you are, this is what is right for you, and being skinny doesn't mean that it's difficult, but I don't know if you're here when I was talking about, the tortoise, the poem that I started with, that is teach for having your neck as Other animals have got their parts of the body that are also different from the others. So teach the child what is it that is jealousy, why people become jealous of them at times. Now, with the second question, I think also it's similar to the third question, whereby you need to teach your child to stand up for himself. If your child has a problem, you said, how do you help them? Because they are always saying, Mom, it's fine. Help your child by, don't teach them at that moment when things are happening, because then you are interfering with the play. And Nowadays, some children will say, no, I'll fight my own battles. Don't fight my battles. One Sunday in the afternoon, when you are talking with your kids near the gazebo or under the tree or under the gazebo, tell them about what is it that is appropriate, that people have to say, or other children can say to them, what is it that is inappropriate that people are saying to them. So you can do that, and you can even play games with smaller children, as I said, the intermediate phase and the foundation phase. Let's play the words, inappropriate words. Which one is it? You are skinny. And you play a game like you're competing. Tell me quickly, which appropriate words to say to another person? No, you look good. And then you Thabo, which one is it? And you play that game so that it's instilled in their minds that this is appropriate and this is inappropriate. And you also build their self-esteem. Thank you. Is there any other question that I didn't answer from the three ladies?
I think you've covered them, Ntsiki. We have 2 more hands, and then there are some in the chat as well. But perhaps we can take the 2 hands that are raised. So in the order, it will be Mercy first, followed by Batsira. Mercy and then Batsira. Thank you. Please unmute yourself and you can present your question.
Thank you. Good evening. I joined in late also, and I just have a question. I don't know if it's relevant. You mentioned something about if you see a child sleeping all the time, like he's on drugs, and say you notice your child at an adult age, will we think that the child has been bullied before that result to that behavior, or it could be another behavior that is emanating from an adult?
Can you please repeat your question? If your child continues to sleep, or you see your child sleeping alone?
Yeah,
so,
you see your child. Yeah, you see your child, but now he's an adult, but before he's just like sleeping. He comes back from school, or even the school, they call you, your son was sleeping in the library, or yeah, your son is sleeping here and there. We find him sleeping, and because of not knowing about this bullying behavior or other things, will one think that the child is was being bullied at school or anywhere he is at that age until now is getting into an adulthood, or it's just a behavior of an adult child? How would one differentiate that?
It's not easy at times to differentiate whether it started in childhood or it started now. So it's not only bullying that will make a child to sleep. Sometimes it might be something physical, whereby a child has got a physical illness. So what I was trying to say is it is important that you check certain things. Like, for example, if your child is in high school, I was not presenting the substance abuse, but DAHA is one of the things that will make a child to sleep a lot. So if a child is in high school, there might be 2 things that you need to look at. In fact, 3 things. Is this child on substances? Is this child being bullied? Or is this child depressed? So by talking to the child, at times it's important that you always take your children to somebody to talk to them, to a counselor, if you are seeing a behavior that you don't understand. So at times you might find that this child is sleeping because he's depressed, or he's sleeping because, yes, it's true, he was bullied. So it's not really a straight thing that because he's sleeping, you will think that it's bullying. But part of or symptoms of being bullied could be a child will sleep a lot.
Thank you for that. But Sira, please go ahead with your question.
Good evening. I hope I'm not intruding because I feel like I'm an intruder here. I'm hearing only female voices and no male voices. My question is actually a little of a comment, because I'm just looking now and I'm saying, really, bullying is a big thing, and as parents, we really need to make sure that we understand our children. And the thing that really bothers me is that sometimes it could also be coming from us parents in the way we treat our children. Because I'm looking here at a situation where we have a well-behaved child. Normally, we have those that are badly behaved. They normally have those tendencies of becoming like they've got a blackmailing tactics, and they use that. And the parents tend to give more attention to those badly behaved children, and they ignore the well-behaved one. In the process, they are really like punishing them for being well-behaved. And in the end, that child is confused, and probably he can end up maybe withdrawing or sometimes becoming a bully himself. I don't know how we can really go around and assist our parents to be able to look at this and make sure that they don't punish the well-behaved child in the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This reminds me that I think one parent who said, how will I know if my child is a bully? And yeah, I will get into that. Now, one paramedic said to me, in an accident spot, the person that is quiet and not moving is the severely injured one, because it might mean that the person is dead. But the one who is moving and still, saying something, please help, or crying, then that person is not as injured as the quiet person. I don't know if this analogy makes sense, but what I'm trying to say here is that as parents, we concentrate on whatever they are doing, and but those who are quiet are not being attended to. And bit by bit, these kids will end up feeling that they are ignored. You'll find out that they end up being depressed, not because they were depressed from the beginning, but because of the treatment and the ignorance that they get from their parents. Parents are ignoring them. Parents are always concentrating on the naughty one. So yes, I think the speaker, the person who just asked a question, and thank you for being a gentleman and being a thorn amongst the roses. Roses need that. It is important that even the quiet child, we check what is happening to the child. So not only the one who is a bully. And one parent mentioned, what do we do if you find that your child is a bully? I mentioned some of the things here that as a parent, let us teach our children to be empathic. Let's teach our children to do an introspection. What is it that makes them to be the bullies? Let us teach them to take care of the others. Teach your child to share. Sometimes we say, no, he's an only child, and now because at home his toys only. Teach your children to play with the cousins, to play with the others in church. because in Sotho they say, you know, when you want to bend something, when you want to bend a stick, you bend it while it's still wet, because when it's dry, it will break. So while your kids are still small, teach them the skills to share, teach them empathy, teach them how to love. You know, people usually, teachers say, sharing is caring. Tell them those things, that sharing is caring. And it is important that as parents as well, as parents, we become role models for our children.
Thanks very much, Ntsiki. There are a few questions in the chat. And so I think we can go to those now. There aren't any other hands that are raised. There's a question from a 10-year-old. I'm 10 years old, and my question is, if a child is being bullied at school and their parents tell them what to do, but it does not work, what do you do?
Okay, if the child is bullied at school and the parents are telling them what to do and those children do not do it.
But what your parents are telling you to do does not work.
Okay. It is, as a child, tell your teacher that my mom said this and it's not working for me. Or go and tell mom that this is not working. What I always say to people that come to see me, or even the children, is that you have the key yourself. When you tell a person what to do, they'll always come to you when it's not working. But in terms of how do you attend to your children, don't give them solution when the situation is happening. So by doing that, you are saying to your child, you already have a key. You can say to your child, let's explore things that you can do. So you explore stuff, you explore what they can do, rather than giving them a key to go and open that, you know, that case of problems. Teach your child to think for himself, so that even when you are not there, they are able to think for themselves and not depend on mom said I must do this.
Okay, thank you.
So if it doesn't work, explore different things with your mother. What is it that you can do? Explore different things with your teacher and your friends, and only do what will work for you, what you think will work for you. Because sometimes mom will say, hit that boy back. And when you hit back, and then he hits you more than, you know, you expected.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ntsiki. There's another question. It says, please comment on envy and poverty as related to bullying. A case of boys in school transport abusing those who have better packaged lunch packs.
Yeah, we are exposed to that most of the time. When children come, they call, in the townships, they call these ones that have a better packed lunch box, they are cheese boys, you know, and that is envy, because they envy what they have. So teachers as well in schools, if there are teachers here, teach children about, you know, our grandmothers used to say the fingers are not equal. There's a one shortest or longest. So teach children that some people have more than what you have. And life is like a pie. When you can cut a bigger slice of food, but you have a bigger slice of intelligence. For example, I don't know if this makes sense for people. So the transport guy, if it's in the bus, if it's in a taxi, the person that is taking kids from school and to home, and from home to school, also has to be a person who's aware and who has interest in children and who can report these things, because envy or jealousy can play a very important role in bullying and poverty as well. Parent who has, if possible, come to the taxi, explain to the kids that, you know, if you don't have, rather than bullying my child, can I give you, you know, some bread? Can I give you this? Because the problem of cheese boys and cheese girls has created some children not to even want to travel on a transport that has got children from different environments and economic circumstances are different. Children, parents will think that they are discriminating to how they treat other children.
All right. Okay, thanks. We have a few more in the chat, Tsiki, so maybe we can just briefly go to those. There's one, hi, I'm a child. My question is, did you say treat a child like an adult? Or, so the question is not complete, and I'm not sure if you maybe are able to comment on that, or if the person wants to maybe just make it clearer for us. But go ahead.
I think I saw that question. The person asked if I'm saying treat or teach. Now, teaching a child like an adult, you know, is different. What I was saying is treat a child like an adult. I'll make an example what I mean, and this is an example that I always say to parents, that if your friend comes to your house and that friend breaks your glass, you'll immediately say, no, Mrs. Woods, don't worry, I'll do it, I'll sweep it for you. But if your child breaks the glass, then you shout and you tell him, I told you, go and take the stick, go and take the broom, come and clean, you know? So this is the treating that I'm talking about, that treat your child like you treat your friend. It's not teach your child like an adult, because children might not even understand the words and the language that you are using. When you teach a child on a child level, but when you treat a child like you would do to an adult.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. And it really does make a lot of sense. There's another question. I'm a 14-year-old, and I wanted to ask, what if you're being blackmailed not to tell that you tell anyone? What do you do?
Okay, now with blackmailing, a person who blackmails you will not stop bullying you because he knows that this is what you are going to do. You are scared that something will happen to you. Now, if there's something that you did, an example, you might have stolen your dad's 50 rands and your brother saw you. And for the whole year or for the next 5 years is, if you tell my dad that I bullied you, then I'm going to tell him that that day he was looking for a 50 rands, it's you who took it. Most parents understand. You go to your father and say, Dad, there was a day when we were looking for your 50 rands, and I'm so sorry, it's me who took it because my brother is always doing this, and he says that if I tell he will tell that I stole the 50 rands. By doing that, you are already know when somebody is throwing a ball to it won't hit you as it hit you. So going to your dad, this is what happened. It will free you from a bullying of a year or 5 years, because some people start being bullied from 7 years and up to they become teenagers. You know, from the age of 7, you find that it stops when they are 17 or 18 or when they go to university. So go and tell the parent, don't allow anybody to blackmail you.
Thank you so much. There's another question from one of the children on the platform. I'm a child. My question is, if you are bullied at home and you tell, but they keep on bullying you, what must you do?
Okay. Now, if you are being bullied at home and you've told your parents and they don't do anything, if you are a child that goes to school, take this further, go and report it to your teacher, the teacher that you trust. And also indicate how does that make you feel, and indicate that you have informed your mom or your dad, but they are not doing anything. Because the teacher might put it better to your parents. If you don't tell your teacher, you can even tell one of your aunts or one of the teachers at church or one of the mothers at church what is happening to you. Because otherwise things have happened, children have been bullied and abused at home, and parents never believed them until they grew up. So if you keep quiet about it, it might be difficult to raise your own children when you are an adult, because you know that as parents, you don't care if your child tells you anything. So what I'm trying to say, little girl or boy, always tell another adult if your mom or your dad do not believe you or do not protect you enough.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much for that sound advice there. There's a last question on the chat, and then there's one more hand. Yvette, we will take your hand in a minute. The last one on the chat says, how can we encourage kids to report bullying? Does reporting increase the bullying?
Reporting doesn't increase bullying, but it decreases it. So bullying is like pressing a boil. You know, when you have a boil somewhere or under your arm, when you press it, it becomes very painful. But when it's pressed and that pus is taken out, no matter how painful it can be, it's going to heal. So reporting can be very scary when you report that a bully is bullying you or it's doing certain things to you. It might appear like at that moment, you know, you've made the situation worse. But as time goes on, it will be better and it will subside. So reporting bullying doesn't make it worse, but it makes it better and it protects you. Otherwise, some victims of bullying have been killed by their own bullies. So if you keep quiet and you don't report it and you think it will be worse, it might be worse. You might be in a more dangerous situation by not reporting it.
Okay, thank you for that, Ntsiki. Over to you, Yvette, and then there's one last one in the chat. But you, Yvette, you can go first.
I just wanted to find out if there is twins, if you have twins and the one twin continuously bullies the other one and even bites the other child when she doesn't get her own way all the time. How do you handle that? Because both of them are being brought up in the same way, yet the one is acting out in a different way to the other one.
You know, at times bullying, it's not only about the behavior. It can also involve hormones, that this particular twin there's something wrong in his hormones. So it doesn't mean that when you're raising the children in the same way, they will be exactly the same. So a parent can take that child for therapy, can take the child to a pediatrician to find out what is it that this child has got that is different, especially when you say they are biting, he's biting the other kids. I'm not saying children are dogs or they are chickens, but I like observing behavior even on dogs and on chickens. If you put a dish of, what is it? Not hot dog, what is the dog food? In one dish, and you let the female and the male dog share the food. I've seen on several occasions, the male dog will bite the female dog so that it's the only one that eats. Same thing applies with the chickens. If it's and the hen, you'll find that the one that has gone that makes it to be aggressive will all find that there's something neurological or on this child's hormones that makes him to be the way he is, regardless of the background and the way they've been raised. So I'll encourage the parent to get professional help in this one.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last one, Ntsiki, is a question in the chat. What do you do if bullying happens in church through gossip and church members encourage the gossiper by reproaching the bullied, or I'm not sure if it's supposed to be approaching, but and making fun of the member?
So in different churches, there are different groups, like some churches, you'll find that there are groups of young ladies, and it's called this, then that particular group has got its own leader, or there are groups of women or of men. So each group might be having a leader. Start by reporting from the bottom. Start by reporting this to a leader. And if a leader doesn't have those leadership skills to be able to do conflict resolution, go to the next level, the elder of the church, or go to the priest and report this to your priest to say, this is what is happening. And there are those, those that you're talking about, the bystanders that are just there to clap hands and to encourage the bullies. They are bullies themselves. So if there are other people that are encouraging the bully, that are seeing the bully as a good person, then they themselves require a therapy to deal with the anger that they might be suppressing, to deal with the past problems that they might have come across. So when you're a victim of a bully, what you need to know, it's not about you, it's about the bully. It's not that there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with the person that is bullying you. Same thing applies to the bystanders. It's not, there's nothing wrong with the person that is being bullied. What is wrong is about you bystanders who are standing there and allowing bully to happen, because what you are also doing is you're showing that you've got low self-esteem, and by being embraced by a bully, you feel that that person is elevating you and is taking you to the next level. So you also have to question your own self-esteem as a bystander.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Members, I don't see any other comments or any raised hands. I think perhaps I'd like to say to you, Ntsiki, do you perhaps have any closing comments?
My closing comment is that self-esteem is very important. We need to build our children's self-esteem, and we need to build our own self-esteem. What is also very important is that, you know, don't say to your children, do as I say to them, do as I do. Be a role model for your own children. And as I said, there are some parents who are telling children not to be bullied at school to avoid a bully, but in their houses, mom is bullying and they never, you know, dad never do anything. Dad is hitting mom, dad is bullying mom, dad is locking the door when mom comes home. Now, as a mother, how do you tell your child to fight a bully when you cannot do anything with a bully in your own house? So by this, I'm trying to say that let's be aware of the perpetrators of GBV. Those perpetrators, they were also bullies in their childhood. And if you allow your child to be like that, he'll be a perpetrator as well when he grows up. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Tsiki. I'm sitting in the dark because I've just got load shedding. But I'd like to say thank you very, very much to you. And also to all the members that have joined. I'd like to really salute our children who have joined the platform as well and have participated in the conversation and have even shared their questions. I wanted to ask, Ntsiki, are you willing to share your contact details if members would like to get in touch, or would you rather not do it right now? It's entirely up.
I can share my contact details. As you can see, I don't know if the screen is showing on your side.
It is showing.
All right.
Showing. Yeah.
So those who can go on Google, this is my my practice, Nontsikelelo Rajuili psychology practice. My website has got all the details. So those who are on Facebook, you can also see my page, like the page as well. And it has got all the details. But my phone number is 072 415 6679. So 072 415 6679. And the office number, let me see if I can write it here. The office number, it's okay. That's 072 415 6679, and the office number is 061 527 9586.
I've just included
those are my details.
Yeah. Okay. I've added it to the chat, Ntsiki. Thank you so much. And members, I think we've really touched a very important topic this evening, and it clearly is a conversation that can be continued. In the meantime, I appreciate what you have shared around, you know, the warning signs, as well as the conversation around building positive self-esteem, which is very important, particularly amongst our growing children. So I'd like to say thank you once again for your time and for the presentation this evening. And then Ntsiki, you offered to send us the PowerPoint. The members have shared their email addresses in the chat. I will arrange to get it from you, and then I will then email it to those who have provided their email addresses. And then also the presentation has been recorded. It will be uploaded onto the Northern Conference YouTube channel, but I will also share it when I send the email. It may be in the form of a link. It will be a WeTransfer link, and you know that that WeTransfer link has an expiry date as well. So please download it as soon as you receive it. Having said that, thank you once again. You know, these are our monthly talks. Our next talk will be on the 2nd of May. And we will be talking about teaching your children about sexuality. That will be our May presentation from the Children's Ministries Department of the Northern Conference, as well as the Cape Conference. So thank you for joining. And before we leave the platform, let's just have a prayer together. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for such an empowering presentation that enables us to understand better the bullying challenge and how it impacts our children, how it makes them feel, how it influences their behavior, and also the longer term impact as they grow up to become adults. Father, I pray that what we have learned here this evening will indeed help us to identify situations, but also seek the necessary help. And I pray that you will continue to bless Ntsiki in her ministry through her practice, that as she interacts with clients daily, Father, that you would bless her work, and as she empowers her clients, that indeed they will be able to live fulfilled lives. Bless us throughout the rest of this evening, and we thank you once again for this opportunity. For Christ's sake, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, one and
Amen.
all. I will have your contacts in the chat, so I will send the necessary information to those who have requested them. Have a good evening, and see you again on the 2nd of May when we speak about children and their sexuality. God bless and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.